The Nigeria Center for Disease Control have confirmed 91 new cases of COVID-19 in 15 states and the Federal Capital Territory. This was disclosed on the agency's Twitter handle on Sunday night, and a total now of 1,273 cases have been recorded in the country. The number of people discharged have increased from 222 to 239, while fatalities have unfortunately increased from 35 to 40. Now, a breakdown that you can see on the screen of the 91 new cases showed that 43 were recorded in Lagos, 8 in Sokoto, 6 each in Taraba, 5 in Kaduna and Gombe, 3 each in Ondo, the Federal Capital Territory, Edo, Oyo, Rivers and Bauchi, 2 in Osun, and 1 each in Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Ebonyi and Kebbi states. Now, earlier on Sunday, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu, the Director General of the NCDC, said that there was a need to get more test kits as part of efforts to scale up testing capacity in the country. And Doctor, if I quote him directly, he tweeted, "We are desperately looking for more RNA extraction kits to increase testing in the country. As it stands, we've conducted just over 10,000 tests, I believe. Our testing capacity is increasing, but extremely slowly, and there is need to ramp up." Over to you.
Well, I mean, the message from WHO again, which we've quoted repeatedly on this program, is that testing is very important. Test, test, test. In some countries, they're even doing mass testing. Take, for example, Senegal. In Senegal, at the Institut Pasteur, they've been able to come up with, a testing mechanism that they used for dengue fever previously. So Senegal is able to do a lot of mass testing. Maybe there are some lessons that we can learn from a country like Senegal.
Yeah.
Now, lack of testing kits will compromise Nigeria's ability to be able to contact trace, to test, and to get the right figures. And this must be quite frightening, considering the fact that the progress that has been made in the last 2 weeks or so is as a result of improvement in testing. First from 200 to 1,500 to 3,000, up to a point that Nigeria was beginning to talk about being able to test up to 5,000 in the 13 molecular laboratories that are available in the country. And now with Dr. Ihekweazu, who is in a position to know, saying that we are having issues with the test kits, then that's a real problem.
Yeah.
And in that his tweet, he even identified the manufacturers of the specific type of testing kits that Nigeria needs. And I guess that's a subtle appeal to people, particularly in the private sector, how they can help, if they can help at this particular time. But apart from the expression of concern about testing kits, as put out by Dr. Ihekweazu, another development over the weekend is the rising number of deaths in Kano State.
Yes.
Now, within a space of 24 hours, 23 persons died. And those, I guess, are the reported cases. Undertakers, mortuary workers, and grave diggers in Kano are beginning to complain because over a period between April 11 and yesterday, over 680 persons have been reported dead. First, the Commissioner of Information said, well, nobody should panic, that the state is on top of the situation. But again, he had to revise that statement.
Because that's certainly cause for alarm.
Because the governor now said, look, they really need help. Now, according to the minister, Osage Hanere, a team had been sent to Kano to help investigate the situation. But the truth of the matter is that that team, we were told about that team since a few days ago, many days ago. So there is an emergency in Kano State. In fact, some people are saying the federal government should go a step further and declare a real emergency in Kano State. Now, that investigating team, have they come up with anything yet? In Kano, they stopped testing because the medical workers in that state, we were told, ran away out of fear of infection.
We've had no results for days.
They don't have protective equipment, and some of them were infected, so others have been discouraged. Now, today, the federal government will need to take a decision with regard to the lockdown in Lagos, Federal Capital Territory, and Ogun State, whether to extend the lockdown or not. I understand that some people are saying, well, we should ease the lockdown a little bit, and that the Economic Sustainability Committee, led by the Vice President, that one of its proposals, which has not been presented yet, I guess, is to see how the federal government can ease the restrictions.
That's right.
Well, the thing is that we should be careful. On April 20, last week, Ghana decided to ease the lockdown in Kumasi and Accra. Now, as at yesterday, Ghana in 1 week had recorded 270 more cases. And that is being traced to the fact that they eased the restrictions in just 2 cities, Kumasi and Accra. So we should be learning from what is happening in other places so that we don't then have an explosion. Now that we don't even have test kits, we need to be very careful. In Kaduna State, the governor has extended the lockdown for another month, and people will be allowed to come out only on Wednesdays. Now, people must be prepared to make the necessary sacrifice so that, we don't find ourselves in a more difficult situation.
Certainly. I mean, I believe we can learn from even closer to home if we just look at what is happening in Kano State, because a lot of experts have unfortunately even described that Kano State may actually even be our actual epicenter of this virus in Nigeria right now. But certainly we must look at other African countries, what is happening in other African countries like Ghana, and learn from those countries. Doctor, let's take another news headline, because it's not difficult to see that poverty on the streets of Nigeria given on any day now. But making ends meet has been difficult, especially for millions, since the lockdown was announced in Lagos as a preventative measure during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, to ease those pressures, residents have joined forces to feed the less fortunate across different parts of Lagos State. Arise correspondent Adefemi Akinsonya spent the day with the Lekki Food Bank, giving us another snapshot of how citizens are helping citizens under lockdown.
Lekki Food Bank leaders are preparing their food packages for the day. More than 1,250 cooked meals are made daily. And no less than 500 dry food bags are also given out, helping families eat for longer. Aiming to feed as many people as possible during the COVID-19 pandemic, the initiative is supported by the Lekki Residents Association, the Nigerian Police, and the foundation run by music artist turned businessman Olubankole Banky W. Wellington.
Because everybody deserves something to eat and everybody deserves to live. And so that's what this is about for us. And for myself and the other leaders, it's a very rewarding thing, just between yourself and God, to know that you're playing your part, you're doing what you can to make this world a little bit better. So.
Lekki Food Bank relies on donations to cover costs. And aside from money, finding volunteers is a crucial part of keeping it running.
We have about 20 to 25 volunteers. Some days we have slightly less, and that means some of us have to do this every single day. So that's the biggest difficulty for us, because we don't want to burn out and we want to continue as long as we can. So the challenge is finding volunteers that live around here and that don't need public transport to come here, because we're also trying to encourage people to social distance. So.
Once the food is loaded up on the van, we follow the team to pick up police officers from a local station who'll help them manage the crowds. A short distance away, we reach Lekki Marawa, the area where the food will be handed out. And we're met by the waiting crowd. There was always going to be pandemonium here at the food distribution point, and the organisers are trying to keep the process as orderly as possible. You've got children on the end, women in the middle, and men and young boys on another side here, all with colourful markings on the ground, ensuring that people observe a social distance. The people here are anxiously waiting for their opportunity to cross the fence and get their daily allowance of these food supplies. Despite the wait, people are grateful Lekki Food Bank cares about providing them with a cooked meal and easing their food worries during lockdown.
Today I don't have anything at home that I can eat with my baby, but they call me that they're giving something here. Even I don't know what I want to give, but I know that it's something important that everybody that can eat it and happy. I'm very thankful for that.
It's helping us because no time to go out. Come here, collect food and collect gift. Thank you. God bless you.
Coming here to see today and eat, it means a lot of things that you people have done. Yes, I'm a mother of 6 children. I work before. I normally work. I used to go and work. But immediately when everything shut down, so there is no work anymore. So that's why we are staying at home, doing nothing. So we normally go to where they used to share food. If we hear where they are sharing food, we rush to that place.
And it's that rush that poses another challenge in delivering the food in a safe manner. Though the queues are spaced out promoting social distance and each person's hands are sanitized before approaching the food counters, the reality of hunger and desperation in Lekki soon sets in as the number of food packages available decreases.
Always going to be some measure of pandemonium, especially at the back where the tickets are being shared, because everybody's hungry. And, you know, there's only so many people. I mean, we're feeding 1,250 people a day, and it's not enough. And we're giving 400 or 500 bags of dry food today, and it's not enough because there are literally tens of thousands of people that are hungry. So I think the real takeaway, the message, is that in every community there needs to be one of these. There needs to be a Lekki food bank, the same way there needs to be an Omole food bank, the same way there needs to be an Agungi food bank or a VGC food. There should be a food bank in every community because there are that many people that are hungry.
For the time being, volunteers say they're committed to using what they have to do what they can in their local areas.
This is the community I live in. Lekki might seem like an upper class area, but we know how Nigeria is. Everywhere in Nigeria we coexist across classes. So it's nice to see that people around here are happier since this has started, and I hope we can continue to go forward that way.
As the day winds down, the team debrief back at base, where they go over plans for more days of distributing food during lockdown. All of them aware that for every mouth they feed today, there are still more in need tomorrow. For the Lekki Food Bank, the marathon continues. Adefemi Akinsanya, Arise News, Lagos.
So we now need to print.
Another brilliant report from Arise correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya highlighting the work that the Lekki Food Bank are doing. Now, so many important points were made there. They're able to feed 1,250 people a day, but it is still not enough. And Banky W made an extremely amazing point where he said that every area really and truly needs a food bank. There are other food banks like the Lagos Food Bank located, I believe, in Abuja Meta, but we do need more food banks. People are hungry. Doctor?
Yeah, there is hunger in the land. I mean, there is poverty also. So we're not just dealing with coronavirus, we're dealing with hunger virus.
Yeah.
Because people are locked down, they are unable to go to work. Many of these persons, they earn their living on a daily basis. And so what the Lekki Food Bank is doing, the Lagos Food Bank is doing, is commendable.
Absolutely.
And I like the title that Adefemi gave it, Citizen Heroes. And I think that when all of this is over, all the persons who have made solid contribution to help society, they deserve to be honored.
Yeah.
You know, they should be the Nigeria's national heroes, and they should all be properly acknowledged and recognized by the federal government. I would like to see the next national honors list, you know, including the names of persons who are doing a lot for society now, not civil servants, not traditional rulers, not persons who have not made any contribution to saving our community. So I commend what they've done, but again, let's make the point. These food banks are useful, but they should observe basic rules about social distancing. People tend to crowd together, so in trying to help them, they expose themselves again to avoidable risk.
They are trying their very best. You could see the outlines marked for people to social distance. But like Adefemi pointed out in the report, the reality is people get extremely hungry. And towards the end, when they're running out of food, you can see people rushing together. So yes, there are gaps that need to be filled. But joining us now is our business correspondent, Rota Sadiri, for the latest in the business world of today and over the weekend. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Leila. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning,
fine, thanks. So the executive chairman of the FIRS, Mohamed Nemi, sent out a press release which was supposed to be an update on what's been going on following the palliative measures that the government has put in. And what's been causing the business community to buzz a bit, even on Twitter over the weekend, was the fact that he said in the press release that despite the struggles going on with regards to COVID-19 and the impact on the business communities, certain sectors or certain businesses are experiencing a, quote, a boom. He mentioned telcos, he mentioned financial institutions, he mentioned e-commerce, he mentioned manufacturers of certain items, which I think was alluding to hand sanitizers and such. And he said as a result of that, he made an appeal to those sectors to please pay their taxes possibly early and make arrangements with the FIRS. There's a tweet that we're showing here. This tweet actually was deleted by the FIRS. It says where they're talking about telcos and other winners, quote unquote, of the lockdown should try to make amendments and pay it. It's a patriotic thing to do. Again, I should point out this tweet was deleted, but we managed to catch it, get a screenshot. And even here on the show, we've talked about how telcos probably are going to do well during this period. But I really want to caution, everyone at this point to wait until we see the full year financial statements from these companies to see how well they've done. Exactly. On Friday, I believe, we talked about Arik Air, slashing salaries by 80% for their staff. If you think about people who were formerly in employment or have seen massive cuts in their salaries, they're not going to spend as much on data and making calls as before. A number of companies that have, shut down activities, they're not using telco services. They're not, many of them are not patronizing financial institutions. So we have to be very careful here in pointing out certain businesses and claiming that they're going to be facing a quote-unquote boom.
Well, no wonder they deleted that tweet.
Right? Yeah. So it's very to mention a boom in the middle of a recession is almost it's an oxymoron. So again. The key thing about this press release is that it stresses the funding gaps that the federal government is facing. He did mention it there, and he just put it to bear that the federal government is strapped for cash right now, and so arrangements have to be made. But again, the key point that the business community is saying here is that, look, let's wait until we see their financials for the publicly traded companies and see exactly how well they're doing, because it's not set in stone that everybody's going to be experiencing.
Exactly.
These companies will be experiencing it.
There's so many dynamics to it that you can't just expect. Sorry, Doctor, over to you.
Quickly, I mean, the comment by the head of the FIRS doesn't sound professional. And I think that what Nigeria should do is to learn from other jurisdictions. Now, you quoted a tweet. I have another one here by Mustafa Chikiobi, which is a reaction to the press release by Mohamed Nabe. He says, this is unbelievable. Hasn't he heard about tax anticipation bonds? Governments or municipalities issue bonds in anticipation of tax revenues and dedicate the taxes when received to repay the bonds. So, in other words, that press release, not enough thinking has gone into it. And I've just quoted, Mustafa Chikiobi as an example of what could be done. And there are lessons that can also be learned from other jurisdictions. Take the United States. I mean, the United States has extended the filing of returns till June, for example. So you find other countries helping businesses. But here, the taxman is singling out certain businesses. He says e-commerce, he says supermarkets, manufacturers and processors of certain products are experiencing a boom in spite of coronavirus. Now, that's contradictory. In fact, that's insensitive. What is that based on? Right. Does the FIRS have a database for monitoring which sector is doing well or is not doing well? He might as well add to that his list, pharmaceuticals, because more people are buying drugs now. More people are drinking water. So how about water factories? Okay, how about people selling, making and selling face masks? Right. There is a boom in that sector too. So it absolutely does not make sense. Two, the other thing that is wrong with that statement is talking about palliative measures. How do you have palliative measures in a proper regular tax, scenario? Is he talking about tax write-down or tax write-off or tax holiday or tax rebate? Those are the technical terms that are used. Three, that statement has the mindset of a tax collector, not of a tax administrator. Now, a tax collector, some businesses are doing well, so come and pay us. Right. I mean, that's like extortion. What the FRS should be doing should be to give guidelines. And in any case, what is it really talking about? VAT is deducted as sucks, right? So they can get VAT. And you can say, you pay your VAT. But companies, they will still have to audit their accounts. Company income tax, they pay is it not at the end of the year? After proper audit, so, yes, then they pay January, February. Yes. They have that window. So is it saying that companies should pay company income tax ahead of time? So these are the contradictions in it. And of course, the coronavirus situation is like a war situation. In war situation, people try to help businesses. I mean, some countries are giving tax relief. Some countries are, bailing out specific sectors. Nigeria, through the FIRS, is saying, government is having revenue squeeze. Therefore, come and give government money. Yeah. it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
and that's why I say his statement is totally unprofessional.
Yeah. What I was saying is that his statement is really, it's so dangerous because there's so many dynamics right now to the way in which businesses that are running are actually even operating, that for you to come out without empirical evidence to suggest that these businesses are booming and therefore XYZ is extremely, extremely dangerous and quite worrying.
It's not based on data.
It's not based on anything.
The tax office should not be talking like newspaper commentators. Right. You know, it should be evidence-based.
Yes, it should. Definitely.
I mean, what is the boom that he's talking about? Supermarkets open, you know, only for a few hours of the day.
And then
they are even running out of inventory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Right?
Everyone is struggling. The honest truth is that everyone is struggling.
Which manufacturing companies is he talking about? At a time when you cannot import anything, you cannot export anything.
It
But
is
very
careful.
soon, customs, I hope customs will not follow suit.
For people
and say people who are importing facial masks or testes will come and pay
customs duty. Oh my, Roses, thank you for the business updates today. We'll see you tomorrow. Aaron Akerejola joins us now to give us some quick COVID-19 updates. Good morning, Aaron. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Leila. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning, Aaron. Good to see you.
It's good to be here today, and hope you actually enjoyed the weekend.
Yes, of course.
Okay, let's bring some live updates concerning the COVID-19 as we speak. As out of the latest update, okay, as out of 7:31 this morning, all right, total confirmed cases right around the world still stands at 2,972,315, with the US still registering the highest, 965,910. There, on the right corner of the screen, you can actually see the total number of deaths, 206,565, and the total number of tests conducted in the US is now started at 5,441,079. Of course, New York taking a big chunk of that, with 805,350. So you get to see some of the latest update there. Of course, it's still in 115 countries around the world, and we are hoping that this actually abates. But the good news is that Boris Johnson is back, and certainly has addressed the UK, and we are hoping that this will help expedite things, because the UK is still registering 154,037. But one of the big updates that is actually coming in is the fact that Australia and the move that they are making in ensuring that not just that testing actually goes around, is the fact that they've actually put on an app that has been widely received in Australia. I don't know if it's the same kind of app that the governor here in Nigeria claimed he had in his state, but nevertheless, without a doubt, Australia are actually embracing the app, and several people have actually come on board, regardless of any kind of data privacy issues or the rest of them. They are going on board, and it's a good thing that we are beginning to see them trying as much as possible to do what they can to ensure that they get ahead of this virus.
Well, it's still a very difficult moment for the world, but the conversation in Europe is about how to begin to ease the restrictions.
Yeah.
I think it's in Spain, for example, that young people are now allowed to go out, and there's a very interesting picture on the front page of Financial Times of London today showing two young girls, with their father so excited, and that photograph was taken. But again, in Africa, the situation is still really bad.
Yes,
over 30,000 cases in Africa, over 9,000 recoveries, and in total about 1,300 deaths, with South Africa, Egypt, and Morocco still on top of the table. And then at the bottom of the table, you have a few lucky countries like Sao Tome, that has only 8 cases. You have Mauritius with only 7 cases, and you have South Sudan, which has 5 cases. We reviewed the Nigerian situation earlier on during the headlines. We just hope that somehow, countries will find solutions and the entire world can move beyond COVID-19.
Certainly. Aaron, thank you for today's updates, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.